All right, all right. Hello, hello, everyone. Hi, guys, and Rob. Hello, good to see you.
G'day, привет. Hello.
Привет! Wow. All right, I think it's a good point to start. So, guys, put hello in the chat, okay? And I'd like to introduce Rob to you. And Rob, what else do you know in Russian, by the way? All right.
Uh,
Hello, hello, everyone. Hi, guys. I
well,
can't.
there we go.
Oh, okay.
Привет, как дела?
Oh, sounds good. Sounds good.
Хорошо, круто.
That's
Деньги?
what that they oh, that's important one.
Yeah, it's an important one. Yeah, not too much.
Okay, excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. Okay, good. I see we're live. We have people joining in. That's awesome. Hello, guys. Good to see you. And Rob, again, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm super excited to be interviewing you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so yeah, we just were talking before this live, and I was telling you that I've just arrived from like crazy long flight, and you also been traveling in the past months. How many countries have you been to so far in the past, just in the past month?
Oh, maybe five.
Okay, which
Yeah.
are what?
Uh, Let me think. Germany, Austria, France, Italy, and Australia. Well,
Wow.
and if you count the airport, Abu Dhabi as well. That's not a country. Dubai, is that right? Dubai?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been traveling a lot lately. It's been pretty full on.
Well, sounds interesting. Sounds interesting. So, Rob, we are very excited to learn, about your success today and about tips you're going to share with us. And I was introducing you as a musician, as a singer, as a composer, as a producer.
Mhm.
So, tell us a little bit about your life story. Like, how did you, um, like how did you manage to create all that? And like, did you what age maybe it started, you started to feel more like an artist, and how did you grow up? Just your life story would be great.
Yeah. Answer in 1 minute, right?
I know, right? Okay, let's start with how you grew up and about your background.
Well, I was born. That was a good start. No, according to my mother, I knew 10 songs by the age of 2. Now, I don't remember that, but I do remember at a very, very young age doing Elvis impersonations. And I think I was around 3 at that age. And my mum would have visitors over, and I would hide behind the couch, and she would give an introduction, and then I would jump out and do a little performance. So um, that was my earliest memory of doing something in music. And my mother was an incredible pianist. My family's from Vienna.
Mm.
Both my parents are, even though I was born in Australia, both my parents are from Vienna. And I was born in Tasmania, which is a little island in the south, an island state in the south of Australia. And my mum was an incredible musician. So her playing, though it wasn't so often, was very magical to be around in the house. And it was very inspiring. And then I think it was the age of 8, I started learning piano. And my brother at the same time was learning guitar. Um, and of course, the piano wasn't as cool as the guitar. So he started teaching me some things on guitar. And then I kind of taught myself from that point. And I started playing guitar and bass guitar professionally mostly. And yeah, that started my adventure in music.
Nice. How many instruments you play now? So you mentioned piano, guitar, anything else?
Yeah, well, kind of stringed instruments, guitar, electric bass. Professionally, I played electric bass much more. I play banjo and ukulele. Of course, they're very different instruments. And drums and percussion, different percussion instruments. But yeah, I don't know. Not that many. Five,
Okay.
six, five, six, something like that.
I mean, that's many enough for me, and I'm sure for our audience. Okay,
Right.
great, Rob. So, what are the things? Because I mean, we have I have very interesting questions lined up for you today from my students and my clients. As I told you, we have followers and students from all over the world, Russian speakers who learn English,
Okay.
who want to travel, meet interesting people, and I mean, this is amazing that they have an opportunity to ask a person like you today.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So would you agree that basically each person has okay, let's first speak about your results today. Like what are the things you actually very proud of, like as an achievement in your professional career? I mean,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah,
it started early on. I that's definitely clear, and we'll get back to that.
yeah. Look, it's funny when you work in music. Like I have many different things that I've done in music. Like, I've worked as a musical director. I've worked as a music producer. I've worked as an engineer. I've worked as a studio musician, as a songwriter, as a performer as well. And for me, the greatest thing is that I've been able to just continuously be working in music. Like I run into this concept. There's a lot of young people that are trying to be famous. And of course, fame is not a bad goal in itself, but it was never something that inspired me. Growing up, I noticed that a lot of famous people were very troubled people. There was always, well, there seemed to be a lot of problems in life and drugs and different things that I innately wanted to avoid or knew it wasn't good. And even though I fell into that hole for a while when I was a teenager, um, I was able to consistently work in music. And, I've had some success with some of the stuff that I've worked on. I've had some hit songs as a producer and a co-songwriter in different countries. And one of the artists I work with got a Latin Grammy nomination, and you know, and some other hit songs and different things, but nothing hugely successful. Like I don't consider myself. Yes, I've worked with very top level people, but um, for me, it was all about consistently working in music, and that to me is the greatest thing.
Wow, absolutely. And I'm sure like it also relates to your understanding what you want to create as an artist, right? Like what is your, contribution to this art world? And that's my next question actually, because art is like I think this area is defined differently by different people. It's just like if you want to find the area which is not systemized, this is art for sure. It has all these different opinions. And let's talk a little bit about that. So, how would you personally define art? What is your personal definition of art?
Oh, wow, that's a very that's a tough one. Art. I mean, uh, art ultimately is creation. So in that wise, anything you do, anything that you create could be art. I mean, certainly if you look at this phone, this is a piece of art. That's the thing about Apple as a company, or even Samsung, any of these companies, they're artists, even though they're engineers, there is always art. You know, Sometimes you see people and the way they're dressed is like a painting. This is just art in action. So I think to me, art is something you create, something that that ultimately communicates with people, right? Ultimately, it's something that touches people. Yeah. So that's how I would do it. It's like, if you're singing and it's like
Well, obviously there is no communication. Yeah.
yeah, there's
No.
not a lot of singing there, right? But if you're like um, you know, if you're willing to reach and touch people, then that's art.
Well, and you are definitely an artist then, because you are so good in, you know, communicating through music. And now, like you mentioned that you produce, you sing yourself, like you compose music. Which has been your, you know, number one, and why? Like, what would you prefer doing, or you like doing, or you, yeah.
Wow. Look, every piece of every function in music has its own magic. And I think the great thing about music is I worked with a very, very famous singer and producer actually in Latin America. His name was Diego Verdaguer. He was a big star from the age of 16 up until he died just 2 years ago
Mm.
in his late 60s. And you know, he's the one that taught me to find the magic. You know, you're always looking for magic, whether it be as a producer or as an engineer when you're working with another artist or when you're performing, you're trying to find some magic. And to me, anything you do, if you can find that magic, then it's the best thing in that moment.
Wow, like what, how would you define magic here? Like something which, you know,
Some,
creates an effect on people, or like what would
yeah,
it be? Like what kind of magic we're talking about here?
yeah, something that touches you in a way is extraordinary. You know,
Mm,
so, sometimes you hear somebody sing, and they may sing like, for example, when you're recording an artist in the studio, like they may sing the song. What you hear at the end is one song, but they may sing it 30 or 40 times to get that one song. In other
mm.
words, this is the way we work in music nowadays, is the artist might sing a song through once, and then again, and then again, and then again, and then again. And then it's the engineer's job at the end to choose the best parts. And you're looking for the magic in those moments, you know, the magic in that communication. And it's a feeling. Ultimately, it's a feeling. Ultimately, it's like, oh, and a good example, I was in Rome last weekend, 2 weeks ago, actually, and we were in the Vatican City. And, you know, there's 88,000 pieces of art in the Vatican Museum. Outrageous. And they're all incredible, but some of them touch you in a different way. And to me, that's the magic that you look for is what touches you and maybe elevates you or gives you some feeling or some release that is undeniable. Maybe it's a divine thing, you know,
Wow.
maybe it's something that connects you with the artist or connects you in a different way. So I couldn't say one thing like I'm a bass player. You know, I love to play bass, but I particularly love funk. And funk, you know, is black music. And so when I pick up a bass guitar and I play funk, it completely changes me.
Wow.
I feel like I'm almost a different person. You know, it's just an energy comes through, and it's just wow. You know. But then, you know, if you play guitar or you play piano, and again, you find magic there. So, of course, there has been times when I've had the pleasure of being on stage with 50,000 people or 80,000 people,
Wow.
and those experiences are sublime and magical in their own way. So yeah, so you know, it's a very magic is maybe a word that is a lot of people are used to magic in terms of tricks and things like that, but in music, it's finding that special thing or creating that special thing.
Right.
It captures everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And it very much relates to a communication concept we,
Of
you know,
course,
you
yeah.
brought or, you know, like basically if you communicate through your music, and obviously there's something in this communication which elevates people,
Yeah.
which, you know, makes a change just in this specific moment of time. I mean, of course you call it magic. What else is going to be? I
Yeah.
think that's very much very well defines that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, Rob. So would you say, you know, because, you know, most people think that art and music and all this like artistic thing is like so much depends on talent, and it's just you should be super special to be an artist. Like a lot of people think like that, me included.
Mhm.
I used to think like that, not anymore, but you know, that's one thing. But on the other hand, you already mentioned that, you know, art is actually, you know, anything can be art, and if you can make
Mhm.
an art out of anything. So what would you say to a person who would say, no, I'm not artistic, you know, I'm not, like, art is not my thing, but
Yeah.
actually it's not true. Like how would you see if the person has this inside?
Well, I personally believe that everybody has it
Mm,
because everybody can create. Now, it's true that sometimes life is rough, or sometimes experiences with other people can depress one or make you feel worthless or useless and make you feel like you have no talent or have no ability. But you know, the truth is that anybody has the ability to create. So one thing that I've observed with some of the special people that I've been around is that they really create their life, you know, and that was the great lesson for me because when I was young, you know, I grew up in a very lower middle class family. You know, my dad was always working two jobs just to, and my mum was working to put food on the table. And you know, we had a good life, relatively speaking, but it was still tough, and I never my desire to have things or to create things was somewhat restricted by my parents by income, you know,
yeah.
which is quite, I think, quite common. You know, I wanted to race motorbikes when I was young, actually.
Mm,
Um, I managed to get an old bike, and I had a racetrack, and because I grew up on a farm in Tasmania. So my first career choice was, aside from football, from soccer, was to race motorbikes. And I would harass my father to buy me this particular Kawasaki bike that I needed to race, and he would never buy it because it was way too expensive, you know? Anyways,
yeah.
um, so I think learning is the key to confidence and challenging oneself, and all of those things give you give you confidence to create. And you know, even if it's a blank piece of paper and you draw something, or you know, you decide to do the gardening, you know, or make the patch of grass in front of your home a little bit nicer, that's creativity. Everything is creative. Now, not everybody is gifted with a natural voice necessarily, but there are many examples of artists in the world that are not really great singers, but they're very successful.
Yep. I
Madonna
think,
is a great example. She's not really a great singer at all, you know, but she's creative and she's persistent. That's another thing, right?
yeah, well, now we come to my next question, which is very logical. So if a person wants to, you know, explore himself as an artist, and I mean, you've mentioned also that for you, like, you actually mentioned that you actually created your life so that you could do art, you know, you could continue to create. And so what qualities should a person have to, I mean, obviously, yeah, just to make it an art? I guess that would be my question.
Yeah. Well, I think to me the most important thing is like what's your goal in life? What's your purpose in life? You know, I think when I was very young, I noticed that when I sang, people were happy.
Mm.
And I liked that. I liked that I could bring some happiness to somebody. And aside from the feelings that I got from it, and that I enjoyed, I really liked that, and enjoyed watching groups of people or crowds of people just have a great time. So I think, and that was probably the big goal or the big thing that was driving me. So I think probably the first thing I would ask myself, or I'd encourage someone to ask, is what's your goal in life? What's a purpose that is driving you? Because whether you want to be an engineer and you want to build bridges, or you want to paint, or you want to sing, it all comes down to the purpose and the goal, and then creativity, because it's the creativity that will bring about that thing. For me, it was never a choice. Like, it was not something that I ever thought about, honestly. Like, at no point did I decide to work in music. It just sort of happened. I love to sing, so I would sing. Or I'd love to play, and so I would just play. And people go, well, come and play with me. And I'd go and play with them, and then we'd sing together. And then when I was 12, I started singing on the streets with another guy in Tasmania. And then someone saw me on the street and they said, well, can you join my band? And so then I joined the band. And then he said, well, I need you to play bass, not guitar. So I said, oh, okay, well, I'll play bass. So then I learned how to play bass. And then some other guys saw me play and they said, well, can you join my band? And then so I joined that band. And it's sort of, so, and then they said, oh, can you do this? And I said, like, oh yeah, well, I don't know how to do that, but I can learn it. And so I figured out how to do that, whether it be engineer or produce or write a song or whatever. So I think if you're following a path that you're passionate about and that fits with your goals or purposes, then it just kind of flows more naturally, I think.
Right,
If
right.
you're willing. And also, I think probably the big thing is that you're not doing this to yourself, you're not penalizing yourself.
Because I think especially in art, this is this thing, like
Oh
it's
yeah.
so
Oh
much
yeah.
critic
I'm
over there.
I'm terrible. I
Yeah.
can't sing. I'm ugly. No one will like me. Um, I mean, this it goes on and on, right? Few are the people that don't have those thoughts.
Right.
But you can't entertain that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So what would you do? Just skip it or like,
Yeah, you just skip it. You literally ignore it. You
okay.
know, I mean, the amount of times that I would start writing a song in early days and go, "Oh, that's awful," or I'd compare it, or for the longest time, I wouldn't even sing my songs because I was terrified of what people would think.
Wow.
I'd written dozens and dozens of songs, and no one had heard them because
Well,
I had
hopefully
a
that's
whip.
not the thing at the moment. We can hear you.
Yeah, I was beating myself up. So I think the sooner you can get over that stuff,
Hmm.
and just allow yourself to just experiment and don't care what people think, because in life you're going to get out of 100 people, you're going to get 100 different points of view. And
Right.
that's the beauty of life, you know. That is one of the great things, And if 10 people out of that 100 like what you do, then there's going to be another 10 people and another 10 people, and soon there'll be 100 and maybe 1,000, you know. And also, you also have to have the courage to recognize that something's not working.
Hmm.
If you're putting yourself in front of 100 people and only one person likes what you're doing, and that one person happens to be your best friend, and the other 99 are going, sorry, you know, then maybe you should look at it and go, well, maybe I should change what I'm doing.
That's a very good point. So
Yeah.
here is where there is a line between invalidation and actually constructive criticism, you
Yeah.
know. like basically what you do, and I think it's in any area, not just art, like you have, okay, let's say 100 people who maybe use your product or came to were your audience, or I don't know, like they were somehow you know, they somehow saw your creation, right? And out of this 100 people, you need to see, okay, so 80% or how much percent would you say, you know, liked it, or how would you evaluate if this was a great performance or a great product, and not to invalidate yourself, and maybe, okay, or and this 20% were not happy because maybe they're not part of this audience, or like how would you advise on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think life is a natural survey. You know, if you dress in the morning and you go to work and people are going, "Whoa, my God, you got to change, man," you know, then you should change your fashion sense. But it's the same with music, or it's the same with any creation. And of course, and that's why there are different genres of music. You know, jazz music is a whole other world that most people don't get jazz.
Yep.
It doesn't communicate to them. But out of every 100, if 5 people get jazz, I think that's probably a good statistic. Maybe less out of 100, actually. Maybe 2 or 3 out of 100 like jazz. I don't know. I'm just guessing, right? But if you extrapolate that out into tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, that's a big audience.
Yep.
You know, and I truly believe that, again, if you're passionate about something, you'll communicate, and you'll have an audience. You'll find that audience, and you can connect and grow with that audience.
Yep, yep, absolutely. And it actually brings me to another beautiful question. But before that, I see you have a guitar behind you, Rob. And I mean,
I do have a guitar. Yes, you see that. It's
yes,
just a
yes.
prop. It doesn't do anything.
Come on, come on. I was just gonna ask you, maybe, maybe
No, it's not real. It's a picture.
I don't believe you.
Come on.
You would not put just a picture behind you, Rob, for sure. So, do you mind playing something for us? I would love, and my audience would love to see you sing, to hear you sing.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm not warm. I'm not warm. I'm in fact very cold.
Oh, okay.
Um, um, wow. What am I gonna sing? This is the other problem with music. This is why you plan so you know what you're gonna sing.
Well, let's say I give you I give you contacts. Let's say have you been, by the way, to Russian speaking countries?
Yes, I've been to Russia once. I was in St. Petersburg in 2007. It was phenomenal. Oh my God. St. Petersburg is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I was shocked at how amazing it was.
Wow, wow. And I am sure it's inspirational for artists because this city is like a museum in itself. It's just like
Absolutely.
unbelievable.
And you know what? What else was extraordinary was how the dress sense of the Russian women. Like it was crazy. I mean, I didn't see so many well-dressed men. Maybe I wasn't looking at the men so well, but the women were dressed incredibly.
Like you said, a person can be dressed as an art, like it can be an art by itself. So here we go.
Well, absolutely. And that's what I saw when I was in St. Petersburg. I just saw like the beautiful not just beautiful women, but beautiful dress sense.
Yep, yeah, that's amazing. So let's say if you came to Russian speaking country, any of those right now, you know, what would you sing? What would you sing for us? If we would ask you.
If oh my God. Okay, I was messing around before. This is a song I really like. Of course, I love to sing my songs. But this is a song by an Australian band called the Bad Loves. And I
Mm.
was sitting outside waiting for the interview, and this song came to mind, and I'll sing a little bit because it's such a good song. It's called Lost, and it goes, I cried, hand of the devil, gently betrayed with a kiss. All my dreams tumbling down. What I found, and I was lost. Without you, I was lost. Without a trace, lost, never to be found.
Wow, thank you so much.
I love that song. You know, this is the power of music, right? I was this was the 90s, and I was my alarm at that time would wake up to the radio. And the alarm went off right as I heard and the singing and the song started, and I was just like gone. I was fully captivated, and that became one of my favorite songs of Australian music. So yeah, the band is called Bad Loves.
Nice. And the name of the song again?
Lost.
Lost. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, by the way, we will make sure that below this video we'll post all the links Rob has been referring to, and links on his
Oh, you will.
production.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. So they could see
Good.
your music, and yeah, so
well,
whatever you feel like you want to refer to, go ahead. I mean,
oh, thanks. Well,
yeah.
you know, it's funny because you know, I mean, I've been writing songs a long time, but truthfully, my focus was not on my music. Again, I was always very happy to be working in music and working with different people, and though I had many friends and fans that wanted more music, you know, the life is its own adventure, right? And sometimes you have demand for money. It's a strange thing, you know, but this bills have to be paid. So, you know, I would work in music in other areas, and I'd be happy to do that at the expense of my own music. So I don't really have that much stuff out there, to be quite honest. You know, I have stuff on Apple Music and Spotify, and you know, things that you can hear. I've got a few videos out there and stuff like that, but you know, I feel like actually I'm entering into a new phase now, because when I'm going back to Australia on Friday. I'm in Switzerland right now with my partner, and one guy that I've been writing songs with since the 90s, he just landed a big deal. And so I'm about to embark on creating a lot of music with him, potentially for film, for television, and things like that. So, you know, there's a lot of good stuff on the horizon. It's pretty awesome.
That's exciting. That's exciting, Rob. So, I mean, I know also, and when I was introducing you to my audience, I mentioned that, you know, you've always been an artist, but at some point you also transitioned into business area, and you also run a company.
Yep.
So, I mean, how these two things go together? Because I mean, for me, it makes sense. And again, like with everything you've said before, that art is actually life and creating life, and it's like, so how art helped you to create a successful company, and what did you see in business which you didn't see in art before? Like, could we just discuss that? I think it's a very interesting perspective.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's I mean, look, factually, the music business is a tough business. It's a tough business, you know, financially. You know, when you're and certainly as a performer, you know, you generally have more success when you're younger. But actually, COVID is what drove me to starting a new business, because I couldn't perform. I couldn't. My working in music changed considerably. So I decided to start a company, a supplement company. Some people I knew, some friends of mine in America had an amazing product that I really liked, and I decided to bring it to Australia. So it I did it for two reasons, well, three reasons really. One, because I believed in the product. Two, to help my friends, and three, to help other people. And I knew that because of those things, it would be successful, because the product was good, and I knew people would like it, or it would help them. So it goes back to my story when I was a kid, and I like to see people happy. So I would sing because it would make them happy. Well, it's the same thing in business. If you do something that helps people or makes them happier in some way or gives a service in some way, then I think that's a really good thing. And your chances of being successful are going to be much, much better. So, and again, it's all art, right? It's all creation. So, mechanically, it's a little bit different. Like, it's not like picking up a guitar and writing a song. But it still follows the same laws in that you're creating something from nothing.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And again, it goes back to communication, because a business owner obviously has something to communicate. Like, there is a purpose to the product.
That's
There
right.
is like, okay, if your company sells supplements, obviously there is communication which you want people to understand. Okay. And here, same thing. Like, you first decide what effect you want to create, right? What communication you want to put out, who's going to be your audience, who's going to like it, and then you create from nothing. And this is art. I mean, this is also art. I would agree with that.
Yeah, that's fully art. And I think motivation is the most important thing. Again, it's like, if you do things just for money, you can do them and you'll get money. Maybe you'll be successful, maybe you won't be, but it's not a very high motivation.
Right.
I think it's to be motivated for something higher, something different, something more valuable, because money in itself is kind of a bit useless. Yeah, there's probably many examples of people with a lot of money that are very miserable, or that die alone, or that die on drugs, or they're not nice people. They have a lot of money, but they're horrible people. What's the point in that?
Right. Okay, that's awesome. I love the answer. And my next question is going to be, if you could give yourself an advice, let's say to yourself 25 years old, or 20 years old, or 15 years old, doesn't matter. Like, your life has just started, like adult life, right? So, knowing what you know now, what advice would you have given to yourself?
Well, there are probably two things that I would have done two things, maybe three things, maybe 100 things, but probably two or three things primarily. First one would be not do drugs. When I was young, I got baited into doing drugs because I thought it was cool, because other people said it was cool, because it was like a rock and roll thing to do. So that I would definitely not do that again, because I wasted a lot of time, and created a lot of unhappiness for myself and others by doing drugs. So that would be the first thing. The second thing would be to practice more and be more disciplined about practice. And the third thing would be learning, learn more. Like, theory in any subject, like there's doing music, but then there's the theory of music. And now I taught myself, so I didn't learn music theory. It has its uses. It wasn't necessary that I did learn music theory for what I've done, but it would have advanced. It would have opened more doors for me. So no drugs, practice more, and learn more. And probably the fourth thing would be more discipline on schedule.
Wow, I love it. I love it. It all can be translated into any area. Basically,
Everything.
basically, drugs, alcohol, things which basically are a distraction and can ruin your life. I
Oh,
mean, you just get these things out of the equation, right?
yeah. I mean, I did see many lives ruined. I had friends that committed suicide.
Oh,
I
wow.
friends that went to jail because of drugs, lives destroyed because of drugs.
Yeah, and
And
I know you've actually, created a lot of things for charity, like anti-drug campaigns and stuff like that
for sure.
since many years. And thank you so much for doing that, to change the world. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a natural thing. I mean, when you make a mistake, you don't want to do it again, but also you don't want others to make the same mistake. So yeah, we definitely have to look after each other in that sense, especially young people. It's challenging when you're young because, of course, you think you know everything,
Yeah.
you know, and it's kind of, unfortunately, Hollywood or pop culture glorifies drugs or glorifies doing stupid things.
Right.
Yeah, and
But yeah, very good. I mean, we all need to think for ourselves, and obviously might not, whatever you said, basically some people would say, yeah, but this is a boring life. You need to learn, you need to practice, you need to be self-disciplined. But I mean, this is it. Like, that's what it requires for success. It's not some Hollywood movie or something. You actually have a goal, you have a purpose. And okay, what skills do I need to actually be the most I could be to achieve this purpose? So I invest in myself, I learn, I practice, and I do it every day.
yep,
So it's a very simple formula, and you're gonna love it just with one actually prerequisite. If this is your purpose, like you said, if this is your goal, if there is something you want to create, otherwise obviously it's gonna be hard. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, again, it's motivation, right? Like, like this channel, like what you do to help people understand English. I mean, it's like I think I've been in over 50 countries, and English is used everywhere. It's definitely the universal language. And yeah, I speak German was my first language because my family's from Austria, and I lived in Mexico for many years, so I speak Spanish. Um, and I love languages. But English is by far the most used everywhere I go.
Yeah, this was actually my next question. You started answering
Oh
all
yeah, well, you're doing a
all
great service. Yeah,
what's that?
you're doing a great service for sure.
Thank you very much. So you've been to over 50 countries. That's amazing. And I mean, as you mentioned, English is the language, and you're lucky to have it as your native language, so you are able to communicate with most of people, right? Doesn't matter where you go to if they speak English. So, but again, there is this thing, culture, like difference in culture. And the good part about art is that most of the time it's universal. Would you agree with that? Like, art is something which speaks to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the painting or you hear a song, or like, how many times I was in a situation when I was growing up, I didn't understand what was being said, but I liked the music, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And actually it was opposite when I started understanding the language, English, in that case scenario. I actually didn't like the music because I'm like, wow, there is weird communication in the music in
Oh,
the song. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So the beat, like the music itself, like the rhythm and everything was very nice,
Cool.
but the
Yeah.
words were like, I'm not sure I want to sing that. You see? So yeah, but that's funny. It's just like, it just tells you how much art is universal. Would you agree?
And that's the beautiful thing. Like, I know I can go in any country, as I've been in many countries where many people don't speak English, and I can sing, and I can live, I can survive. You know,
Yeah,
even if
yeah,
it's singing on the street as you go, as I used to do. You go anywhere, you see artists all over the world on the street, miming or drawing, painting, singing. Yeah, art's a wonderful thing to add to your life. Again, even if it's not a profession. I have I was with some guys yesterday, actually, in we were in Lugano yesterday, and I met these guys. Actually, I happen to have this book here, and this is the band.
mm,
They're called Virtual Symmetry, and I was talking to the guitar player and the singer, and they're in real estate. That's their business. They have a real estate company and they work hard, but their real estate business funds their music.
Nice.
Right. So now they're doing some good things musically, but they don't make money from their music. That costs some money, but just that, having that in your life and being able to draw on that energy. Valerio is the guitar player's name. We were talking about that very thing, that just that ability to sit down and play the guitar for a while and get inspired, even if it's for 5 minutes. And then you go back to your normal job, that maybe you don't like so much. Maybe it's not quite exactly what you want to do in life. But if it can support this other thing and you're growing with this other thing, then you can create a balance, kind of a balance of freedom, something that gives you freedom and something that kind of takes away your freedom, or you feel a little bit, trapped by, like a normal job. Because life is about balance. I'm a Libran. So you got to be able to balance things. And it's not all freedom, and life is not all roses.
Yep.
Life is rough. Life can be hard sometimes, but if you can create a balance with art or get some freedom from art, then it certainly makes life better.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Like actually seeing you sing when we met recently and some other artists made me inspired to actually devote more time to artistic. I play the piano. Like I spent
I know you told me.
8 years, 8 years in musical school, but I haven't played ever since because of, again, like this area is pretty suppressive, when you at least when you go to a Russian musical school. I mean, they make you work big time, which is good, but it's just somehow, I didn't feel I want to create on this. But now I'm like, okay, I have the skill, I just need to rehabilitate and continue, because I've always loved to play. I just didn't like when they made me perform when I didn't want to. This is like something.
Well, that's an interesting point, right? Because think about school, right? How many children enjoy school? Some do. Amazingly enough, I've met some that really enjoyed school and excelled at it, but many didn't. And I certainly didn't enjoy school. And it took me a while to get over the idea of being forced to learn. And once I got over that idea that I had to learn, and I decided that I didn't know everything, surprise, surprise, even though I thought I did, that I could actually get better by learning. It really changed my life when I decided I didn't know everything and that I should learn. And it's much like that with music. Like you're forced to practice. You're forced to play things you don't want to play, and you develop a dislike for it.
Yep.
But then when you discover for yourself that what you liked about it and that you could do it, then it becomes a self-determined thing, and that's awesome.
I love it. I love it. And that's what happens to many of my students, by the way, because they might be like 40, 50, 60 years old at the moment. But when they were young, they've always wanted to, to speak English, to feel free, whatever. And many of them might have the same thing with painting or with singing or with any other form of art, but it was suppressed. So would you say that it's never late? Because that's what I always tell my students. Okay, listen, it's never late to start. Like you literally,
no.
a lot of my students are like, again, as I said, in their 50s and their 60s, and they are very much performing well in English. Like they're doing very well. So would you say the same about art?
Fully. I would say that about everything. And it comes back to goals. If you set new goals all the time, and that includes learning, or maybe discovering a new instrument or discovering a new field of life, dreams is what life is made of, man. If you don't have dreams, well, geez, you're a zombie.
Yep.
There's no happiness if you don't have dreams. So I think it's really important to dream and dream, dream of the impossible things because, I mean, I know it's corny. I know it sounds kind of like Hollywood, but dreams do come true
Yep.
if you make them, if you work hard,
Yep.
you're willing,
Exactly.
if you're willing to sacrifice, if you're willing to not follow the crowd, because there is such a thing as a crowd, and uh, uh, factually, many people are not happy in life and they just work to make money and get drunk on the weekend or just watch television, and that's okay. But not everybody is like that. And so if you have a dream and you want to be different, don't be afraid to step outside of that and follow that dream and not care what people think, as I said earlier.
Wow, very nice. So my last question is going to be, so how do you not care what people say or think? Your personal advice. Like, how do you just get over it? Because I mean, I always myself had a very hard time when I started to create, like a lot on my social media and show what I'm doing and whatever. I mean, hate came on. It's just like,
That's
and I had
normal.
a very, very hard time to get over it, believe me. I did, which I did. But what would you personally
Well,
advise?
I said this to somebody the other day. There's a guy on in the music field on YouTube. His name's Davey5014. He's a bass player. He's awesome. Like he's a very interesting Italian musician that does these funny videos. But he's a very sensitive guy. You can tell. And he did a video about why people hate him.
Mm,
But he was very troubled. You could see he was affected by negative comments.
right.
And what I said, I wrote a comment, and my comment was attracting hate is a sign of success.
Wow. I love it.
Validating it is the road to failure. No, I said attracting hate is the road to success, is a part of the road to success. Validating it is part of the road to failure.
Validating hate, basically.
Validating hate.
Wow.
And another way to look at it is, if you look in the mirror
Mhm.
and you compare yourself to the most beautiful people in the world, you're probably going to be pretty depressed. I mean, let's face it. When it comes to beauty, even though it's a relative thing, there are many, many more beautiful men in the world than me. I know that for sure. Now, if I focus on that and focus on how things I don't like about myself, or if I compare myself to somebody else, man, I'm not going to want to go outside.
Right.
I'm going to want to cover myself because what happens when you validate something is it gets bigger.
Hmm.
There's a great film you should put in your link for your friends, your people. It's called Validation, and
I will. Yeah.
it's a YouTube short film. It's like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and it's basically about that thing. It's like what you validate becomes true. And so, unfortunately, there are some unhappy people in the world. It's just a fact.
Yep.
And unhappy people don't like to see happy people.
Yep. The fact.
It's just they can't tolerate it. And so they want to bring them down to their level, into their misery. And so they will hate. It's just what happens. Now, you have a choice. You can ignore that hate or you can validate the hate.
Hmm.
And if you validate it, man, you're going to feel it more and you're going to get more emotionally stirred up. And not only that, it's going to make you focus on more negativity about yourself, about whatever that comment is, and so forth. So you know, many successful people I know of, they never read their own media. It's a rule that they have.
Wow, you just made me so right, because I didn't actually, never, nobody told me this ever, but this has been my personal rule. You know,
Okay.
some of the things I just don't read. I'm like, I know that, you know, that's not, I need to know that like 90% is good. That's good. And the rest I just don't want to read. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
but if you're growing, if your audience is growing, then what you're doing is working.
Yeah.
You know, now it's good to get feedback, of course, right? It's good to know what some people are thinking, but you know, factually, some people only want to put negativity because that's all they see in themselves. And that's what I think it's important to recognize that, right? The people that hate on you or hate on somebody else or hate on me are really seeing their own misery first.
Yeah.
And that's a very sad thing. So, you know, I have a lot of empathy for people that are unhappy and, you know, been there myself. But I don't want to focus on it. So
Right.
that would be the solution for that, you know. Don't focus on the hate, ignore it and find what works.
Wow, that's amazing advice, Rob. Thank you very much. And
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. So we are coming to an end of today's interview. And
Cool.
by the way, guys, if you like something specifically, put it in the comments. I'll make sure Rob will see your comments. And as I mentioned, Rob will put all the links
Okay.
um,
Awesome.
after. Yeah,
Yep.
because this live is going to stay on my page.
Okay.
Yeah. So before we end off, anything you'd like to say, to add to, you know, to add to existing already inspiration? Because I mean, you inspired me today, and I always say to my audience, I do these interviews for me first, because I mean, that's how I'm thinking people. I'm like, wow, this guy is so interesting, you know, I'd like to pick up his brain, or it will be so interesting to exchange experiences, you know, or things like that. And I mean, obviously, I found it very useful to you know, to do it live, because I mean, you could share that with a lot of people, and a lot of people can benefit. So we really appreciate it, Rob. Today
Yeah,
was
yeah, of
amazing.
course. You're
Yeah.
welcome. I think
Yeah.
this,
So
I think
anything you'd
this,
like to add?
I
Yeah.
think the saying is pick your brain.
Pick your brain.
Pick
Exactly.
your brain. That's right. Yeah. Um, oh, I don't know. I mean, I love to do this because I'm happy to do this because for me, I learn a lot myself, you know, when I talk to other people. So, um, yeah, I think the most important thing is just find your own truth, be true to yourself, you know, care what people think to the degree that it services your goals and that it helps people. But aside from that, you know, like be true to yourself, follow your dreams, create new dreams, and be the best person you can be. Because you know, ultimately, the world is made up of individuals, and if we can make happier individuals, um, we can make the world a little bit better. So that's all. That's
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you so much
oh
for
yeah, it
investing
was a pleasure.
your
Great
time.
to see you.
Yeah, in your crazy schedule. And I mean, have a nice trip to Australia, and we hope to see you sometime soon, for because I have more questions. I didn't we didn't have time for everything. So
Yeah,
if
no worries.
you would be
Happy to come back.
available, some amazing. Wow, we will schedule the time then.
All
Thank you
right.
so much, Rob. Have a nice evening.
All right. Cheers, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Ciao.
All right, guys, thank you very much. I'm always super excited to bring people like Rob on stage for the interviews. And please post your questions if you have any for the next lives with him, and stay posted, stay tuned for our next Wednesday guest. Okay. You'll be surprised. I have a very interesting person and lined up already. And guys, again, like, if you need to improve your English, go ahead and sign for a free consultation, which we are providing. And make sure that you remember Rob's advice today. Yeah. Have a goal, learn something every day, practice, and be self-disciplined. Okay? Create your own life, and our life is an art. Okay? Наша жизнь — это искусство само по себе. Okay? Thank you, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.